Good morning. Out here on the Geneva roadside again. A while ago, I was working on a journal review from August of last year when I was on an Amtrak trip to Denver. Uh, Last night, I was reminded of something that I've experienced most every night for a lot of years now. That while everyone I encounter through the day is mostly all courteous, that at night there are a few who like to break into the it sounds like it's a very loudly obvious broadcasting confusion. They, like I've explained before, they get into the sound of traffic. It's like they kind of focus a broadcasting energy that is amplified by the sound of every passing car, while others get into air conditioning systems, etc. And I don't want to bother anyone about it, but it is a significant factor about this matter. And last night, what they really like to do is they argue that they use some specifically very irritating, provocative gays. And I know that there had been rumoring earlier in my life, but I always maintain being normal. I worked, like I said before, I worked in a lot of food and beverage environments, but I always maintained, I was always just normal. Uh, the participants very irritating. That they like being irritating. When they find out that there's any friendly consideration, they like to destroy ours by breaking into the various sounds to loudly argue a Marine argument. I was in the Navy a long time ago, and at that time I was respectful of Marines, but personally I had been in the Navy. So anyway, last night I guess they probably said the word Marines maybe 1,000 times again. It's really debilitating. They don't like there to be any kind of thoughtful, constructive thought or anything, And so they argue it, they interrupt me. At the same time, they insult. They go back to the old slanders from earlier in life, the old medical malpractice accusation. And so basically what they do is they start something of a fight. If they were on the scene, they'd always be arrested. And as I'm continuing to speak, they'd be interrupting me right now, and they'd want to be sure to use a very irritating variety of gay inflection about it. And so basically, there's irresolvable differences. They say they're terrible slanderers. They insist that they're conspiring within the Marine Corps to victimize Americans. They argue at me specifically about it. And so basically, I'm conditioned to argue back at them. And at night, when they've said the same word hundreds of times, that basically all they have to do is say it again to elicit an angry response from myself. And I know that others have heard me because I get distracted. I get distracted about the assault that occupies all my time. Blaring from traffic, bouncing from AC, etc. And so I sometimes don't notice if somebody from the next door building is outside, or if there's people sitting out in front of the other building, or if there might be somebody on the other side of where I am, and a person's walking past on the sidewalk that I don't notice. And there are many witnesses, and unfortunately, a lot of what I say are words that I really don't normally use. I don't use any obscenities, but I do use insulting words back at the offense, and the same offenders like to try to transpose it to accusing that I'm talking back at and angry and insulting against everything in the United States military, but they know that they're lying about it. I'm really a good patriot, and for a nation being secure. And one result of that position is being argued at by criminals that are basically very insistent as treason, who like to say flamethrower threats against our regular population as a matter of a routine. And basically, every time they say it, they go back to the accusation that had been so secret back in '81 when I worked in Disney World that I didn't learn about until nearly 20 years passed, accusing that I'd done something very bad with a man and that there was a stain on the outer corner of my eye about it. and that they themselves are so bad about it that they've evolved to an expectation that persons of that activity would like to use flamethrowers at regular citizens. But I'm really just for everyone being safe instead, and I do apologize about the misunderstandings that happen when people can't be aware of all of the provocations that I'm hearing about seeing me or hearing me saying disagreeable kind of words. And I know that it has caused me a lot of damage. Being seen out on the roadside, of course, the offenders break it, switch to traffic sound, and they like to insult. They're worse. Do you remember the old Gomer Pyle TV series that portrayed the sergeant walking along beside Pyle, uh, shouting at him, arguing, shouting? Well, it's similar to that, except the participants always hide themselves so they can't be seen, and they're much worse. And against any thinking that they say the word Marines as a as like a erase that. The wallpaper would all have the word Marines on it, and if you use magnifying glass, you'd see the word Marines even smaller and smaller. And everything, that they believe that everything should have to be to them. That anything, you know, it's, that they don't like to even consider the existence of anything else, and some of them really are. So anyway, when I argue back at them, then suddenly they sometimes switch to having someone else, like they've just brought someone in to where they are to witness and say, do you hear what he's saying just because we say the name of this service? And they act like they have canceled me about everything. They start saying the Marines are going to torture you. And, I don't know how much they've been saying torturing threats, some of them like to say the foregone conclusion is, that no matter what I say or do, that that's what they're intending to do. I don't worry about it so much. I experience it all the time. I'm just telling you that when I'm seen or heard sounding angry, it isn't my usual demeanor because I'm a peaceful man who's never really even done anything to anyone. But there really is a varying intensity, constant kind of action, and that at night especially they like to intrude and cause a lot of angry words. And again, I'm just saying that I wouldn't want it to offend anyone of any of the services, and I just only talk back at the particular offenders that are doing all the noisy interference. Hope everyone's having a peaceful day.